It's totally cool when people start off saying, well, I want to make money or I want to be famous. I think a lot of people start that way and they don't like to admit it. But pretty quickly, or at least in the first few years, I think a lot of people find a deeper mission for why they do what they do. And that drives them then for the rest of the time they work.
I think there's this like pressure in the last couple of years to have an immediate vision about how you're going to have this, $10, $100 billion company. And no one honestly has that in their first days. Google almost sold the company for $1 million. They would have if like the offer came through. So you don't have to have a take over the world plan on day one. In fact, very few of the companies that we've been involved with that have gone on to do it thought they were going to initially. So what we look for is people that have a kernel of an idea that we believe can develop into something huge. But you can't focus on that right away. You have to focus on delivering something great for a small number of users first.
Most people don't take enough risk, especially early in your career. Being young and unknown and poor, that is actually a great gift in terms of the amount of risk you can take. And I think people don't capitalize on that enough. I think what risk actually looks like is not doing something that you will then spend the rest of your life regretting. So if you really believe in something, there's an idea that you're super passionate about, and you take a calculated risk to start a company, realizing you may forgo a couple of years of steady income at another job, and whatever else, and maybe people call you a failure or whatever, that's a great risk to take. And if you don't take that risk, I think you have a very high chance that you end up regretting that. I think the wrong kind of risk to take is where people don't actually do things or don't commit to something because they don't want to fail, and they overrate the risk of failure and the reputation damage or embarrassment or whatever. I think one really important thing to strive for in your career is to be a doer, not a talker. I think history belongs to the doers, and I think you should take a risk, actually do something. A framework that I have for when to give up and when to keep working is it should be an internal, not an external decision. If people aren't using it, or if people are saying it's bad, that alone is not a reason to give up. You want to pay some attention to that. They might be right. The best entrepreneurs I know, they make an internal decision about when to give up or when to keep working on something. It's basically when you have run out of ideas and something is not working, then it's a good time to stop. I think most people give up on things way too early. So the mistake that most people make is they try something, it does not immediately work. You see this particularly in young entrepreneurs. It does not immediately work. After 7 weeks, they say, you know what, I tried this thing, it's just not meant to be, and I have too many other projects, and so they immediately give up. Most of the founders that I have spent a lot of time with that have gone on to be super successful spent a very long time on their idea when a lot of other people would have given up. There's this view of the world that business is all about like trying to steal money, and sometimes that's true, but the best companies just create massive amounts of value for the world, and then they capture some of that for themselves, but they capture far less than they create, and they do it over a very long period of time. So if you're going to be one of those companies, I think you want to make a super long-term commitment to yourself and others that are going to work on it with you that this is going to take a long time. But it is worth waiting because you will make far more money over the long horizon by doing this company really well than a bunch of short-term things along the way. It's really important to actually think hard about where you think you can make the biggest contribution that you're good at and the world needs and that you enjoy, and then go meet people to work with, go learn as much about that field as you can, and then have the courage of your convictions to actually take a risk and focus on it and go do something there, and that it's okay if you fail, and if you do fail, you'll not be in much different of a place than you are today, and you can go try the next thing. But it's I think, really important to be willing to go take a risk and make some amount of sacrifice to be able to try to impact the world in some way that you really care about.